Okay. Can anybody see if you can see me? You can see the board and you can see me?
All right.
Yes. This way? Okay. Okay.
See her? I can't see her.
All right. So, literally, while you guys are having...
Don't walk out the camera going too much this way.
Don't go this way? I should move like right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, while you guys are all eating and feasting, I'm going to give you a word. And so, I was talking to Maury about a concept during the study portion because I've been gone for a while.
Yeah.
And
A hot minute.
just a small amount of time. And in being gone, things happen. Things change. Soul work happens. And you have to do things or experience things that you haven't experienced. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh, it was because her sister passed. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, she did. But of course, with loss comes other things. And so it opens up something. When you lose someone or when you go through anything traumatic, you break as a vessel, not like mentally, but as a vessel, there's a breaking process. And in the breaking process, the contents of who you are as a person is poured out. And so in the message earlier, today, Maury talked about this idea of the mourning and how that idea of putting a hole into something. And so when we were talking back there, I was like, wow, interesting. I was going to probably hold off on this because it's kind of lengthy. But I feel like it's very fitting for right now because in my breaking process, the Most High showed me something. And in that process, it has changed the way that I am, for now and forevermore, going to view our walk as Hebrews. And all of us have a function in the body. And knowing the function, it allows each of us to support how each person was operating their function. As the Maury, we got that down. It's like, just do everything for him, right? Somebody get him a water. He needs a mint. It's just like, whatever you see that needs to be done, you just... But because he's the water mint man. That's it. And buy him a Bible every once in a while, and like get him a tablet so he can look up words. I don't know. But when you have a person that is the center focus, right? Which is not necessarily all the way correct, of course, but because he stands up here and gives this way and everybody's watching him, we can always see what he needs. And so we're all, each individual person, whether it's, hey man, I found a new charger cord, your charger cord was messed up, or you're watching him to always meet his needs, but everybody in this body has a function and there are needs that each individual person needs, but we're not watching each other. And so we're always waiting for somebody else to do something for somebody else. But the same way that we do for one individual, because we're watching them, we should do for each and every single one of us. And I'm starting with me first, talking to myself first, for each and every person, because everybody's going through a process. And the process is important because the process is how we become whole. We are all broken. I know people are like, I'm not broken. I'm good. Yeah, you're broken because you said that. We're all in a process of breaking and healing and breaking and healing. And it's for different reasons for each person. We shouldn't only rally around each other when somebody goes through a loss of a person, because there are multiple losses happening. There are people who had dreams and expectations for their lives. There are people who go through business loss. There are people who go through marital loss. And we only focus on one loss in the community. And as a community, we are called to make each other whole in all things. We are the vessels that pour and balance out. If I got some, you get some. If I don't have some, I'm going to need some from four different people. And it's synthesis, where it's not parasitic, right? It's communalism. Communism, right? And so in being by myself a lot. I know you guys think, and we talked about that because that is an issue. We have issues, by the way. Just in case nobody knew, what we have issues. We are two very imperfect people. And did you buck your eyes like, who, me? Just you. It is out. She crazy, not me. And that's okay. I'll be crazy all by myself today. But we have issues, and we have age gaps, and we have things that are some things I don't know if we'll ever work through them. Like, I'm just be flat out honest. Like, but I do know that as we go through process and as we try to work out things, that as a community, the community doesn't fall apart just because people fall apart. Right? Because if say for instance, we fall apart, which I'm not going to say that's not completely off the table. Let's just be honest. We're two imperfect humans, right? It shouldn't affect the community. That it shouldn't affect my position. We're married, right? But my first job and his first job, right? If it can no longer be each other, is still we're still ministry partners, right? So learning in process, that in community, that takes precedence over even relationship, because you still have to keep doing what you're doing, even when this doesn't function 100%. And to be transparent about it, so that the community then knows how to pour into this. Okay? I'm putting a lot of stuff out there because the last video I made was marriage is miserable or something like that. And so I know people are like, don't you come back on camera and not say anything about that first. Just putting it out there. Not marriage is miserable, It's a video out there on my channel. It's the last one before this one. I don't even know the title. It was like 6 weeks ago. But it was dealing with the work of marriage. And this does not necessarily have anything to do with marriage. It has everything to, right. It has everything to do with community. And so I wanted to kind of put that one to rest to kind of move forward. Because while marriage is a communal situation, community is first. No marriage will work if you can't be friends with the person you're married with. And no relationship with us as Hebrews can't work if we don't view each other as family. And we say it, but now we're going to learn how to do it. Long introduction. Okay, James. Huh? I totally picked it up. See, there's some things that need to be purged between this. There's some things that need to be let go. I'm holding on to baggage. No. Not you. You're not baggage. Oh, burn. Just kidding. Okay, James 1:4. So I'm going. In saying all of that, my approach from now on, when it comes to what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what I have been told to do by the Most High, and then in return, you can better support what I'm supposed to be doing. What I'm supposed to be doing in conjunction to what other Hebrews ministering, not just my spouse, but in a global sense are doing, I have to take a holistic approach to how I teach you these Hebrew words. So it's not just going to be, oh, that's nice, that Hebrew word fits this, and now I can look up a definition. When I read it, I can understand it. If when I teach you a word, it does not hit every part of who you are as a human, you come tell me because I didn't do my job. Okay? So it's no longer going to be topical. I'm getting all in your every part of your business because these words are getting into every part of my business. Okay? So the reason why I chose this is because these are two things. This is a verse, one, that we use a lot, and people tell you this a lot, but you don't know how to do it. That is our issue right now as Hebrews, especially as women, but overall, all the way across the board. We know how to look up words, we know what words are, we know how to put on fringes, we know how to tie our head wraps, but we don't know how to be Hebrews. Don't. But Hebrew, it's not external. It's external is like is that scratching he talked about earlier in his message, where you're trying to get in the hole and you made some scratches over the top. You scratched the surface of what it meant to be a Hebrew. But who you are, even with your DNA, doesn't make you a Hebrew. You can be a DNA Hebrew and still go to hell. You can be a DNA Hebrew and have not crossed over. Right? Okay, so James 1:4, and the reason why is because patience is a work. We all think patience is just like, I'm being patient. My food is coming in 20 minutes. I can be patient for 20 minutes. Okay, I know where the end is, so I can be patient, which is kind of the process. But patience in itself, and I think this is going to be 2 parts. Is that fine if I do the next part next week? You think I can make it through it today? Whatever. So, I'm going to read the verse. So it says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. I'm going to show you something just briefly, Hebraically, James 1:4, that when everybody read that, they're like, her perfect work. Nobody even stopped to figure out why patience was a her. Did anybody ever stop to think that at any time? It was just like, oh, it's her perfect work. It's for women. No, no, no. The patience is her perfect work. And I'm going to give you this. It's not my lesson, but I have a lesson on this. The word work in this verse is the word ruach. Right? Right? The ruach in Hebrew is feminine, not a female. Feminine. And so patience is ruach work. That's spiritual work. Okay? So if you go back, there's how the ruach moves. Or how the spirit moves. I have a video. You can watch the video and you'll learn more about the ruach. But patience is spirit work. Everybody thinks patience is physical work. I can sit long. I can endure things. No, that's spirit work. And in the spirit work, right, it's not just steadfastness, consistency, and endurance, which is how it's presented in the Greek. And that's G5281. I'll give those numbers because it'll be important later. Maury did a message, and he did a message titled Keep It Together. And he talked about the idea of keeping it together as you endure trials. I'm going to take that keep it together concept that he did and give it to you holistically. Because he touched on a lot of it, but I'm going to give it to you in a way that this will eventually become something that I believe should be in the hands of every Hebrew. I'm going to show you the process, the movement of patience. Because when you're in something like, for me, grief, one of the things I had to be very cognizant of is what phase of my grief I was in, so that I could properly move to the next phase, so I could get out of the cycle of grief and I could begin the healing process. Because the healing process for grief does not actually happen while you're in the grieving process. It's actually after you've completed the grieving process, you can go, okay, I can be okay with being angry, and I can be okay with being in denial, and I can be okay with being, and then I could say I'm whole. But at any time that I'm still in those phases, I have not completed the grieving process. Correct? Okay, the same is true for patience. Patience has a process. And so there are 9 words, and I'm going to give you these 9 words, and I'm going to go through them, but next week what we'll do is I'll go more in depth into the process, and we can discuss in depth the words a little bit more. Because I've never given you, I don't think, in a word for the day, 9 Hebrew words. Okay? So, the word for patience, though, is the word mem, kof, vav, hey. And the root is this kawah. Kof, vav, hey. Mem, kof, vav, hey. And it's literally the word for to gather or an assembly. So the first time you actually see that word mentioned is when the Most High separates or gathers the waters together in Genesis. Right? So the gathering of the waters is significant because everything in Hebrew is cyclical, holistic, right? If he gathered water, then he's also going to gather people, because the seas are people. So it shows you everything over and over again throughout Scripture. Okay, so the process of patience. I'm going to give you the 7 words. It's, do it like this. And I'm going to write it linear, but I'm going to show you that it's cyclical. Okay, so it's cool, like Huldah, right? Hul, Het, Vav, Lamed. It's Hakah, so Het, Kof, Hey, Tama, Tet, look at me, it's rusty. Tet, Mem, final noon. Yachal, Yod, Het, Lamed. I'm not going to write too far down. Can people on the camera see? Okay. And where did I leave off at? Yeah, Shev. And I'll give you each definition of this so you don't have to wait till next week for that.
Hi.
Yet, Shin, Yod, Shin, Bet. Kaf, Vav, Lamet. Cool, like cool. Somebody should know this one. Mem, Hey, Hey, Ma. And then Kof, Vav, Hey, which is the root of this word. And then Kof, Vav, final Mem. That's a lot. I know. Okay, so everything in Hebrew is cyclical, period. Like, absolutely, period. And the reason why, and we talked about this a little bit, and we'll dive deeper, maybe we'll tag team something on the cyclical nature of a lot of the concepts in Hebraically, is that when a thing is linear, it starts and it finishes. Everything for us is cyclical is because we are constantly at work until we die. If it's linear, then it's like, oh, I checked off the list, I'm done with this. No, if you're done with this, do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. You don't watch a movie one time and go, that's my favorite movie, I know that movie. You watch it over and over and over, you want to learn the words of the movie, and it's just one movie. So how can you take a biblical concept and then only want to do it once and then say, oh, I got that? It's impossible. Every time you do something like the Bible, it was Denzel Washington had a quote about that random person, right? During the time of doing the book of Eli, the person asked him, he said, oh, you really like the Bible. What do you do when you finish it? And he said, I read it again. If that was the case, if it was a linear lifestyle, then when we made it from Genesis to the Revelation, then you would just stop. But all of us who are students of the Bible know that when you start and then you make it to the end, what do? Start back at the beginning. It's a cyclical walk, right? So the process of patience is also cyclical. And so you're going to start here with the first concept, and you're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 9 of them, 7, 8, 9, and you're going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to give you the definitions for these so you can get a brief idea of what the process of patience look like, and then we'll go more into detail next week. So, Hul, the first one, right? It's over here. It's the idea of the beginning. Maury talked about this today. It's the beginning phase. It's where everything is seemingly whole. Where I am me. When we come into this walk, you're you. You're like, I have a good idea of who I am. Don't have no gender identity issues. I'm good, right? You come into this walk, you're like, I am Huldah. And then the Most High does like he does. Boom, put a hole in you. All the contents spill out. Who are you now? And you're like, don't know. Brokenness or pain, right? Because the word for hole also means pain. He talks about the idea of boring a hole creates pain. Pain creates the hole that allows the contents of who you thought you were or what you poured into yourself to be poured out. That is stage 1 of the patience process. So the verse, how it starts, and I think Noah, I gave him this, was a great picture of this. Noah, when he was on the boat, the first mention of this word is the words in Genesis 8:10. It says, and he stayed. The storm was over, the flood was over, right? He's on the boat. He's like, it's been time. It's time for me to get off. Sends out this bird. Guess what? Nothing. And he stayed. The process is that being right there. You're expecting something to happen, but you can't move. It's the beginning. Okay? The second one is the word hakah, and it means to restrain one's will. So the second part of the patient's work is to restrain your own will. And the best way I described it to him is when a mother's giving birth, right? The first thing she has to make up in her mind is, I don't matter right now. That's the hardest thing for a human to do in life, is to, in the process of being restored, is to remove yourself. Even though it's to you, you have to take self out of it, because we'll stop the patient's work because we don't want to feel what it feels like to go through it.
Yeah.
We'll do anything. It could be people have dated bad relationships because they just don't want to feel lonely. Mm-hmm. Like seriously, it's like you don't want to. You won't do that last crunch because it's like, I can't take it. But it's like, you want a 6-pack, but you want a 6-pack of donuts too. Like you can't restrain your own will, right? Okay, so the second part is to restrain your own will, and it has to do with the idea of the tongue being stuck to the roof of your mouth. It means to shut up. It means to stop, to cease speech, to stop. And that was hard for me. I couldn't even, I wasn't, for me, in the work that was done spiritually, not just all the other stuff's happening, because there's still work being done. But for me, part of the work was I was not online. It was like, I have a lot to say right now, but everything I think I want to say, I probably don't need to say right now. I probably would have said some stuff that would have had everybody on the same emotional roller coaster that I was on. The whole world turned upside down, like, what? Wait, what? But you don't feel like that no more? Oh. It would have been really sad. It would have been. It would have felt just as weird as you feel with me saying it right now. So, part of that process and that patience work is to shut up. It means to restrain one's own will. Okay? So, the third part is to investigate. Now, that's the second part. Second part is to investigate. So, as you're calm, third one is to introspect. So, it's the word tama. And it means, it's literally like when a mother is giving birth, a good doctor, a good birthing or midwife or a birthing coach will tell her to feel for the baby. Feel for the baby. Not like feel, like put your hand down there and feel, because you can't feel anything yet because the baby is not crowned. But to literally stop thinking about the pain you're experiencing and feel inside of you to feel what the baby is doing. Because the baby is doing work
To try to get out.
Mm-hmm. And if you can feel the baby working, it'll trigger something to your brain to kind of allow you to sync up with this baby so that you carry out the process properly. Patience is that same kind of work. It's a birthing process. It's you birthing your, and the term, and this is probably used a bunch in like esoteric, but your authentic self. The person you were born as and the person you were nurtured as in a home, for a lot of us that was not Torah-based, you are not your authentic self. You are a product of your environment, and then there's an inner self that you should have been if you would have been nurtured according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Some of us as adults are not our authentic selves. Most of us, and I know I do, feel more like your authentic self when you receive your Hebrew name. You're like, wow, I am I feel like me. Like, I feel like this is who I always should have been. But you've never been allowed to operate as your authentic self because you were not nurtured in an environment that allowed you to be that. In the patience work, you will be acquainted with your authentic self. It is the highest form of cognitive dissonance that you'll ever experience. Because what you have in your head and in your heart was not put there to create your authentic self. It was actually for other people's wills or wants or feelings. And so much of you has to be purged because you need to be emptied so that you can actually see who you are outside of that person that you were. And that is hard work because we become attached to our inauthentic selves. It's not that you're lying. It's just that that's what's been given to you. You don't have the will, intent, and love of the Father in you all quite yet. So that next part is the introspection. And it has to do with feeling for this person that you're going to be becoming. Fourth one is, that's it. The yakal phase. And it's to purge or lay yourself down. That's the dying phase of the old self. We're supposed to be slaying that person daily, right? And it's the pausing phase. It's the part where everything just stops. In birth, for moms who've done this, it's the part of birth where most people, if you've been in there, they take a nap. They're like right around 5 centimeters and it's getting really painful. And they're like, okay, well, we need you to transition. So in order to transition, though, you need to relax. Take a nap. And normally when they wake up, they're in active labor and it's time to have the baby. It's like a beautiful process. In the patience work, there comes a time in your patience work where you're going to have to just pause and wait and lay yourself down. It's literally allowing all the contents to spill out. It's like, I explained to Yosh, like when you open your oil thing, and it's like, as soon as you take that thing off, the oil just immediately starts pouring out, and you just wait. Can't change the oil filter, you can't do nothing. Just wait for all the oil to spill out. And if you start the car in that process, you gotta jack your car up. Mm-hmm. So don't do anything. You let it purge. You let it all come out. You look at it, and it's like the car is dying right now. But the expectation is that you're going to put oil back in the car, right? So knowing the process will get you there. Okay. Literally to let go. Yakal phase. The next one is the yashev or yashav phase, which is residing or dwelling or just settling into that space. One of the things they used to tell us when I was working for this teaching company, I can't say the name of it online because it's illegal, for me to be speaking about religious stuff and them saying it. But when I was working for them, one of the things they used to say all the time used to irritate me. They'd be like, I know we're going to talk about some really uncomfortable things. I said it to Yoshi the other day. It was funny. And I said, but just let's live in this uncomfortable space really quick. Because everybody hates that. It's like those awkward moments where you're just like, you just kind of like laugh, and you didn't want to laugh, so it was really dumb, but you just laugh so the person stops doing whatever they're doing. But we as humans don't like to live in an uncomfortable space. But part of the patience work is to dwell in a space that is uncomfortable. And the reason why it's uncomfortable is because of the cognitive dissonance. Your old self doesn't like this space, but your new self is going to grow in this space. So you have to dwell there. And the example for that, because I don't make this stuff up, unfortunately, I'm not that smart. In Genesis, I believe, Jacob is dwelling in Canaan, but he's a stranger in Canaan. Israel is not a stranger to Canaan, because Israel is going to be the Israelites who dwell in Canaan. But Jacob is a stranger in the land of Canaan. It's like a weird cognitive dissonance. How can Jacob be a stranger in a land that's promised to him? But at that time of Jacob, it wasn't his time to be there. But when the Israelites become a nation, then it's their time to be there. So Jacob will again come back to Canaan, but as a nation, and that will be his land. But he once was in the very land that was his and felt like a stranger. That's where a lot of us are. Where you're in your very own self, but you feel like a stranger in the very body that's going to be a vehicle that's used for the Most High. Right? Okay. I'm going to move a little bit faster. Okay, so residing, dwelling. The next one is kol. The kaf, vav, lamet. And it means to contain or to be measured a quantity. After you have been spilled out, after you've let the oil out of your vehicle, you need to measure out 4 to 5 quarts. Basic for about a car, right? Mm-hmm. And put it back in. Each one of us, as we go through the perfecting process, is going to, once the contents have spilled out, be measured a portion from the Most High back to you. And the picture from that, the working definition comes from 1 Kings 7:26. And when Solomon's building all the vessels and stuff for this magnanimous temple, and one of the vessels he built holds 2,000 measures of liquid. So some of us are going to have some 2,000 measures of liquid, and some might be less. That's a parable of the talents, right? But he's going to give each person something. That becomes your burden. That's your burden for what you need to do something with. Okay, so the next one is ma. This is my favorite one because this was probably the longest part of this process for me. And it was the what phase. And in this phase, the Most High literally gave me a verse that literally had the word in it. And it is when he says, what is the potsherd asking the potter about what he's supposed to do? Does a child say to his parents, what have you brought forth? But there is a phase in your patience work, because all of this is patience in your work, that is the what phase. And it literally is the phase of unknown. You're going to not know. You're going to doubt probably everything you've ever believed or held to be true, because what? The stuff that's been put into me by everybody else's intents and emotions is pouring out. I don't know. I had to come to a place where I'm like, do I even believe this because I believe it? Or just because it's what I should be doing right now? Do I believe this because my spouse believes it? Is this, did the Most High give this to me? Is this my work? Is this something I'm supposed to be doing? Is this a part of my authentic self? And you have to, that's a hard work. Like, what is this? What do I believe about, what has he told me personally? Is this just, it feels right now, and if it starts to feel wrong, do I just let it go? How authentic is this walk to me? Without the community, without YouTube, without being in congregation. Is this something I'm still going to do? Am I still going to Shabbat prep when nobody's watching? Am I still going to wear my fringes when nobody's watching? I'm not in congregation. I'm chilling at home. Is this authentic to me? Has this gone deep down into me? Or is this a topical work? And so the questions that come up, it's the unknown, doubting, lingering, tearing, indecision, and is asking the nature of, asking the identity of, and then asking the purpose of. So the nature of it, is this my nature or has this been nurtured? The identity, is this my identity or do I just not have anything else? And then is this my purpose or am I playing? Okay. The next phase, after that, let's go, after the questioning, right? So you already have Yah in you and you still question. Job questioned. Jeremiah questioned. Right? The Messiah questioned. The question doesn't always mean I'm not. It just means, can you confirm? Because I'm going through this and I'm at this place of why, what, who, how, what, where, when, right? Then after that comes the Kawah phase. And that is the phase of hope. It is the phase of gathering, and it is the phase to strive toward a particular goal. So now that I know that my what question has to be answered then, right? And at the time that the what question is answered, then you strive toward that particular goal. And it's the part where you bear fruit. You might have thought you were bearing fruit when you were feeling for the baby. You might have thought you were bearing fruit when you had finally settled. I'm in this land. I feel strange, but I'm good. And it's like, no. You're not at a place to bear fruit until you've been gathered or collected back to the community. In your patience work. Because there were times where I was like, okay, I'm good. No, I'm not good. I'm not good. Why? Because I wasn't ready to be communal. I wasn't ready. And so I wasn't ready. Right? And that part is so important because that is the most important part of the perfecting work because it's the culmination of what is called delayed gratification. A brother of mine, Matnya, who I went to visit them not too long ago, he shared with me that that's how he raised his children. He said, I raised my children and I live my life in delayed gratification. The walk of the Hebrew is the walk of delayed gratification. It's to expect something, but to keep doing it even when you don't get it. To expect something, but you keep doing the work even though you haven't received what you expect to get. And that's so difficult because sometimes the very thing that we need to keep doing the work is the thing that we're expecting. Right? Does that make sense?
Like gas money.
Right. Like I'm driving, and if I just had gas money, I could keep driving, but I'm going to keep driving anyways. I'm low. That was a good one. Thank you. Okay, so then the last part, and this is the part where it culminates, and then the cycle repeats, and we'll deal with the cycle, like I said, more in depth next week. It's the kum phase. You guys probably hear when they say Kwam Yasharala, right? The phase is kum, the rise phase. This phase is the phase of going through a process of bearing fruit. At the end, then the corn or the stalk rises, presents itself with all of its fruit on it, right? And kum, the idea of rising, is for a couple of reasons. And this phase, and I'll get to this next, is all the Messiah, is to claim my rights. After I've gone through the work of patience, I can claim my right. I can claim my inheritance. I'm risen, I can stand, I'm established, and I can assert myself because I've gone through the proving process. And it's the rights and the justice of your inheritance. And it's the idea of corn still growing. It's the idea of a plant that still puts forth its fruit. But just because you began putting forth your fruit doesn't mean that at the end of the fruiting process, you're not going to have to go through the perfecting patience process all over again. The reason why I'm showing you this week is because next week we're going to talk about knowing how to identify when people in our community are in these phases and what we're supposed to do when people are in these phases. Because too often we just like, oh, he going through something. You straight? Nah, he ain't straight. Like the fact that you even had to ask him means that we should be doing something. We're verbal. We're very draw near people very nigh with our mouths, but our hearts are far from them. Because if you are in a pit and you walk by and you go, hey, you straight? You go like, yeah, I'm good. Like, no, bruh, get him out of the pit. Just because he's good in the pit doesn't mean he needs to be in a pit. Whatever reason you're down there, like with pride, even I'm gonna climb myself out. You can take this rope. Right. Like, because I'm that person. We just had like a full out conversation. I was like, I'm the person that is like shot. No, don't take my hand, don't take my hand, don't take my hand. I'm good. No, I'm actually dying right now. Somebody please help me. Like, yes. I'm that person. I have realized about myself. I'm going to say no when you ask me, but I need help. Like, I'm going to say don't talk to me, but I'm like, just sit there until I start talking to you. Maybe I don't want you to talk to me. Maybe I just want to sit there and be like, they don't sing that long enough. And then it's going to get real awkward and be like, okay, so this is what happened. Like, yes. That's so me. Yes. But so many people are uncomfortable being communal through these phases. Where it's like, can I just talk? Oh, if you're not talking at me or to me, then it's not worth putting in the time. So we're going to learn how to be communal through the patience work that each and every one of us has to go through so that we can be whole. Because this year, and every great mission or every great calling starts with a question. And my great question for this year as we move into our new year is, what are we doing? What are we doing? All these videos and all these, what are you doing? What is it for? We're still in captivity. We're not out. And if we're moving toward exiting captivity, what is the expectation of us as a nation in the process? What are we doing? Because he's going to measure us in Revelation, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong, according to our works. This is the work. This work encompasses every phase. The Messiah had to go through every single one of these phases until he rose and became the first fruit of us who sleep. Just to put it out there, if I don't say it enough, I don't know if this is like disclaimer, I am hella messianic. And I say hella because I'm from California too, so I'm hella Californian. Like, so I am. Like, that is the root of everything. I've told somebody, I think I was telling Yosh, I see the Messiah in everything. I told somebody the other day the Messiah is the greatest Zen master that ever, because it's true, he's in everything. And I am in 100% agreement with anyone who is teaching the messianic work. Too much we talk about the Bible, and we talk about the New Testament, and we don't know what the Messiah said. You couldn't quote me 10 things that he actually taught us to do. And in those teachings is the greatest teaching that ever exists on the planet. So just putting that out there, if that was ever up for grabs, because I don't necessarily do from now on, that is how everything stems from that. And I'll make sure that everybody knows if it hasn't been clear before. Just right, banging now. Like, anywho, so, right, I'm hella messianic. Somebody make that shirt and send me one. Yes, I'm wearing it at Pesach. Hella You don't know what hella means?
It means hell?
No,
No,
it's
it
not.
doesn't.
It's
It's
not. No.
It's a lot.
Very loud. I'm like, right.
So,
Right.
next
You
week.
acted hella.
Yeah, right. Somebody
It's
just
a-
told
it's-
Lauren
it's
that
a-
he's hella
it's
old.
like it's a
That's
weird-
hilarious.
It's to the extent
Right.
boom.
It's hala, okay? I'm hala. I'm
He said, I'm
hala
not saying
Messianic. Okay, so next week what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna have a printout of what I have in front of me. And so we'll actually go through that process. And we're gonna actually, next week it'll be shorter, we're gonna put where we are in that process. Because if you don't know where you are, then you're probably just at the beginning. And we're gonna know where each of us are in that process so that we can know how to support each other. For people who are past that process, then you need to reach back. For people who are at the beginning, you need to talk to some people so you can see what you're getting ready to go through as you become your authentic self so that you can do the work for the kingdom. That make sense?
That
Okay.
does make sense.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Right.